Big Sills. Packed show. Packed show. Mark Farzetta will be with us at the bottom of the hour. Tony Bruno, hour 2 at 4:30 Eastern. And also, Philly Godfather, 5:30 as we look at the weekend games. We'll get his thoughts on point spread and some of the games this weekend. Hey, real quick before we get going. Last day, last chance to qualify for our Hooters giveaways and our gift certificates. We're going to throw a code word out throughout the program. All you have to do is put all your information on an email, send it to Tone. You will qualify for an opportunity to get yourself some of those gift certificates. DanSilioShow@gmail.com. We will announce the winners on Monday like we did this past Monday. So good luck to you guys. Just keep an eyeball out for that code word throughout the program. It's your last chance to get an opportunity to get some of those gift certificates. So we look forward to seeing if you become one of those winners, and we'll announce it again on a football Monday. All right. I told you this 2 days ago. You set this bar too high for this team. Since when is 34 points, forcing 4 turnovers, and a back running for 175 yards a bad day? Since when is that a bad day? But because you guys have jumped the gate thinking you're some sort of undefeated team, you have set this bar so freaking high up here that you can't even see over your own expectations. 34 points, 4 forced turnovers, a running back goes for 175, and that's a shitty day? Hey, man, to each his own, I guess. And let's do this one other thing before we get going into this. And we start going knee-deep in. You're 2-0. I'll say it again before I get going here. You're 2-0. Loki goes, who said it was bad? Well, let's get into it. I thought I was watching the old Oklahoma Barry Switzer triple option last night. I thought I was watching a triple option. You're one-dimensional. Your quarterback cannot read defenses. It is absolutely apparent. You can blame Brian Johnson all you want. He cannot read defenses. Sills, last night's play calling was awful. We were trying to throw the ball while the Vikings played a soft front. Shane Steichen played a big part in our offensive strategy. Let me put this out there to you. They know how to defend you now. That Vikings defense is trash. That has to be one of the worst collection of talent I've seen play an NFL defense in quite some time. That's a terrible defense. The Vikings had 2 things that were awful in that game last night. Their O-line and their defense. Brutal. Brutal. They ran the ball right down their throat. You had to because you can't throw the ball. You have no passing game. And you had to run the ball 48 times because Cousins was killing you. That entire passing attack, even with the turnovers, was annihilating you. Zach Cunningham played better. 250 yards rushing. You're damn right. You're a terrible passing team. You're not going to beat good teams. You're not. You're not going to beat good teams. You're not going to beat good teams being one-dimensional. You become predictable. It's totally why the Chiefs beat you the Super Bowl. 23 passing attempts. Most teams have that by halftime. let's get to the takeaways. They're one-dimensional. There's no getting around it. You are a one-dimensional Big 12 or Southwestern Conference team back in the day that ran the ball. You only run the ball. You have no, that's why the bitching on the sidelines. We'll get to that here in a minute. The league had 6 months to come up with a counter for what the Eagles did so well. Now Sirianni, Johnson, and Hurts must use these next 10 days to come up with a counter, and they're not good enough coaches. I believe Hurts will improve. I don't believe you have good coaches. Been telling you that. You're one-dimensional. They have come up with a game plan. Even a shitty defense stopped you throwing the ball. Let me get to the takeaways first, Martin, and I'll tell you. Whatever balance you had a year ago is gone. You have no balance in your passing attack. And thank God you can run it against a shitty defense. You had to run it. They basically took the ball out of Hurts' hands in the second half because they knew they were going nowhere in the air. How could that be with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown? How can that be? Do you know that your defense in 2 games with Mac Jones and Kirk Cousins is giving up a total of 326 yards in the air? 326 yards per game against Mac Jones and Kirk Cousins. And by the way, how many people think the O-line played well? Is it me or is Hurts getting hit more? I think, hey, they're great. And you know what, too? They're going to grade great when you have 48 rushing attempts. But when you have the pass probe, your numbers go down when it comes to your grading because it's more difficult to pass protect. Your quarterback's getting hit. Your quarterback is getting hit more. He's getting hit. Two straight games, 2 straight turnovers for Hurts. Actually, Super Bowl, 3 straight games, 3 turnovers. 3 straight games. Costly, too. Allowed the Patriots to come back on you, scoop and score in the Super Bowl. Last night, really stopped the entire passing offense last night. Once he threw the pick, they went, that's it. He's getting hit more. That team right now, your O-line is not doing a very good job pass protecting. That's another reason they got away from it. Okay? I believe it's a combination of O-line rust and Hurts holding the ball way too long. Sounds like the Carson Wentz story. Gee, I could have swore I'm going to rewind that and hear the same thing that I heard a guy holding the ball too long and O-line struggling pass protecting. Shit, I heard that 5 years ago. It's almost kind of like rewinding that. Vikings defense is, one more time here, man, to drive the point home. That guy cannot read defenses. I'm going to say this to you here. On a good note, Jordan Davis is playing his ass off. He's the best defensive lineman right now in the first 2 nights and in the first 2 starts of the season that's on that football team. He is playing really well. And when the center went out, he took complete advantage of that. That's how you take, hey, you're not going to hear me do this. Well, he played against a second-team center. It's the NFL, next guy up. And what did Davis do? He took care of that. and he played like he should, you should kill that guy. He sucks. He should. And he did. Hey, you can't ask a player to do more. Got penetration? Great job. Okay? Great job. There is no question the injuries on the team are starting to mount, and it's a massive concern. Now let's get to the argument on the sideline. I told you this. I just told Tone this. You watch. If he doesn't start getting targets tonight, he's gonna start bitching. I said that yesterday. And on cue, and on time, he started bitching. You know why? Because he's telling him he's wide open. Why can't you see me? Well, it's simple. Because he can't read defenses. Minnesota did the same shit that Belichick did with lesser talent. Okay? I said that AJ will start complaining. And get this, you were winning. What's his problem? Now, is it because he's that guy and that's the position? Look, I'm going to tolerate that stuff because he's so gifted. And they're boys. I'm okay with it. Sirianni's got to come over and separate the two. That's just not a conversation about, hey, I'm open. There must have been some language in there that said, can't you see me? I mean, here's one thing. I told you guys had everything going in your favor last year, and you guys had everything handed on a silver platter last year because you had shitty teams to play against. There was no adversity. You know what's crazy? You guys get on my shit because you go, hey, we're 2-0. What was AJ's fault? What was his problem last night? He's on the freaking team and on the sidelines complaining. What's his excuse? What's his excuse? He's complaining too. Hey, wait a minute. JoJo, AJ's complaining about 2-0 also. Seals teams have tape on the Eagles on our Hey, Tone, can you put that super chat up, please, for me? I want to make sure that I get that up there for them. Seals teams have tape on the Eagles on our coaching, are not experienced enough to adjust. Again, you're right about everything. Hope it gets better. It will with reps. How would you fix hurt cells? Let me get through all the numbers and my observations first. A.J. Brown is not a punk. Don't go there. Okay? He is not a locker room cancer. He's not a whisperer in the corner like Alshon Jeffries. That's a cancer. That's a cancer. He's not going in the corner going, hurt sucks. He ain't doing that, AJ. He's not a cancer. So don't go there with that. Right now, the Eagles' pass defense, I said it to you last week, and I'll say it to you again, will be one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. This is a personnel issue. The stuff on offense, they have to figure it out. They will. They're not going to figure it out because of the coaching you have. They're going to figure it out because Hurts is going to figure it out. Here. Your pass defense sucks. Your pass offense sucks. Terrible. Here's the numbers. 34-28. First downs, 24-19. Third down, 6 of 10, 6 of 14 for the Vikings. Here's where the game's won. 75 plays. You held the Vikings to 55 plays. Let me tell you something else about running the ball and becoming one-dimensional against a shitty defense. The Eagles had to do that. You couldn't put Cousins back on the field with Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson. Jefferson had the fumble, but he was destroying Darius Slay. Destroying him. Destroying him. $171 in net passing yards to $346. $259 in rushing. Like I'm watching Navy football. And get this. Here's something I want to know about the Vikings. Why in the world would you cut loose of Dalvin Cook when it's clearly a factor on why your offense is as pathetic as it can be running the ball with 28 yards? What's the point of that? So you made a money issue to make your offense less. Martin, I think Reddick's thumb is bothering him a lot. It is. He's a non-factor, but it's injury. I mean, you get rid of Dalvin Cook. Why? Why? I mean, you decide to make your offense less. Do you know if they had Dalvin Cook on that team, I think they'd have ran the Eagles off the field. A guy like Jefferson, you can never truly stop him. You just have to keep him from impacting the game. Although Slay did give up a lot of yards, I also believe he kept Jefferson from taking over the game. They could never take over the game because they could never get play action going. That's a one-dimensional team, but theirs is passing. See, they had balance a year ago. They could run the ball with a 1,200-yard back and a 1,700-yard receiver. You had balance in the room. They're the complete opposite of you. You can't throw the ball, and they can't run the ball. $48 rushing attempts. Holy shit, you had to do that. You had to keep that pathetic Eagle pass defense off the field. 4 turnovers. Fantastic. I mean, how many does Minnesota have in the last 2 games? 10? Here's another key component. When you're one-dimensional and you run the ball the way the Eagles do, had the ball for around 40 minutes. Game over. I said to you, I didn't think they could stop AJ and Devontae. What stopped him was Hurts' inability to find him. Here's something that shows you, and when you listen to these numbers from your players, you'll understand where I'm going. We need to become a run-first offense at this point, and then play action them to death until Brian Johnson, until Jalen and him can figure it out. Defenses have figured you out. I think they figured out the guy in Buffalo. I think the guy in Buffalo's been figured out. 18 of 23, 193, a touchdown and a pick for Hurts. Cousins, 31 of 44, 364, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Second straight quarterback, Mac Jones and Kirk Cousins, who completely outplayed Jalen Hurts. I mean, here's something else on your coaching. So DeAndre Swift gets 28 carries and goes for 175 and a touchdown, and you had him on your roster, but you barely played him in game 1. I mean, you're making it sound like you're some sort of savants when it comes to coaching. You're not. You're not savants. You're bookworms. Alexander Madison, 8 carries, 28 yards. By the way, I saw that press release that the Minnesota Vikings put out. Cam Jurgens has been awful in pass protection. He surely has. I saw that press release. To me, can I tell you about, okay, so a guy said out of 70,000 fans, the Minnesota Vikings targeted one guy knowing full well it would target the entire city of Philadelphia. They did that by design. Because no way does some guy who hollered out a racial slur represent the great fan base in Philadelphia that is passionate about their team and is passionate about NFL football. It's an they tried to indict the entire community, knowing full well that the media will come down on Philly because of the reputation the city already has. To me, that man should be singled out. But to me, what the Minnesota Vikings did is race baiting an entire community. You really think 75 freaking thousand Philadelphia Eagle fans are screaming the N-word? You indict that city when you do that. That pissed me off. You have a right to single that out, but you know what that means. They're not going to look at Bob sitting in row 4 who said the N-word. They're going to look at the 69,000 that are sitting in Philadelphia, and they're going to go down on the reputation of the city. Not cool. On both parts. I mean, you single out the entire city. You know how the media is going to respond. And the Vikings know that. I'm not saying you don't address it. You should have went to the NFL and let them address it. You had no problem with John Gruden. But Minnesota Vikings put out a statement like that, knowing full well a ton of bricks was going to fall on the city of Philly. For two dudes barking the N-word, or one, or I don't know. I'm not justifying it. I'm trying to not let it indict the great night it was for somebody who took their family and their kids. You can't throw shade on an entire fan base like that. You guys are right. A Philadelphia sports space doesn't just get shit on, it gets pissed on. Texas guy, there's a great example of it. Texas guy thinks that that's just the way you guys act. And the Vikings fuel that. Here's the point that I'm getting to in Jalen and the passing game. So Devontae Smith had 131 yards in the game, 4 receptions. That's a one-target throw. It's a predetermined snap throw. The Vikings couldn't cover him. How many times did he get behind him? 4. AJ, 4 catches, 29 yards. Goddard, 6 catches, 22 yards. These are unacceptable. They're unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. You can sit here and look at Brian Johnson all you want. And by the way, after Frank Reich left, Doug, you guys, you guys told me this a couple months ago. Well, they're going to run the same offense and they're going to have the same playbook for defense. Then why does everything look so different? It's not just about numbers. It's a feel. You got to have to feel for the game. And when you keep going to training wheel coaches, you get outplayed with lesser talent. Jalen is a one-read guy right now because defenses have upped their game. Mac Jones and Kirk Cousins have outplayed the Eagle quarterback. Mac, when you get into the heart of the schedule, now look, there's no question. Injuries are playing a factor here. Your linebacker, Zach Cunningham played better. I thought he played better. And Blankenship coming back. Okay? Okay? And so I still think that's a personnel side. Over there on defense, I think they're going to get on offense, in my opinion. I think they will get around to it and figure it out. You're going to have to. By the way, the Buccaneers are going to be quite a test for you. Because let me say this to you. The Buccaneers have a good defense too. They have a Patriot-type defense. Their linebackers are good too. Okay? Their linebackers are good. Todd Bowles a good coach. And the way I look at this weekend, I would say this. Bucs are probably, believe it or not, going to be 2-0 when you get a hold of them. And that's going to be interesting to see if you're able to get into a position where you're going to go like this. And you've righted the ship. You got 10 days. All right.